You're looking for a screen that just works, something you can sit in front of for 8 hours, flip to a movie on the weekend, and feel confident you're not throwing money at a fancy spec sheet that never translates into everyday comfort. The biggest worry most of us have when stepping into the 4K monitor market is that the picture will be gorgeous on paper but end up looking washed out in a bright room, or that the size will feel cramped on a desk meant for a laptop. You want a purchase that feels safe, that slips into your workflow without a steep learning curve, and that actually gives you more bang for each dollar you spend. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The AOC Ag326Ud lands in that sweet spot of big enough to feel immersive, but not so massive you need a dedicated media room. At 31.5 inches, it's the kind of size that makes a spreadsheet feel like a canvas and a game feel like you're sitting inside the world, yet it still fits comfortably on a standard desk with a couple of books stacked underneath for cable management. Because it's marketed as a computer monitor rather than a television, the stand is designed for a work environment, a sturdy, height-adjustable pole that lets you raise the screen to eye level without wobbling, and a tilt range that lets you angle it down a few degrees if you're using it in a tighter space. What really matters after you plug it in is how the picture behaves under different lighting conditions. AOC's use of Qd-OLED technology means you get deep, inky blacks and vibrant colors that pop even when the office lights are on. In my own setup, the monitor sits right next to a window with indirect sunlight, and the blacks stay black. There's no gray haze that you often see on LED panels in similar lighting. That's a big win for anyone who does photo or video editing, because the contrast stays true and you can spot detail and shadows without constantly adjusting the backlight. If you're the type who watches a lot of streaming content, the 4K resolution combined with that contrast makes the pixel grid practically invisible at a normal viewing distance of about 3 feet. Movies look crisp, and the extra screen real estate means you can keep subtitles on while still seeing the full frame. For gamers, the response time feels quick enough that fast-paced shooters don't leave ghosting trails, and the input lag is low enough that a competitive edge isn't sacrificed for the premium picture. I tested a few titles at 60 Hz, and the motion stayed fluid, no stutter that would make you think you were watching a low-budget YouTube clip. Now, the strengths are clear, but the monitor isn't without its trade-offs. The first thing most buyers notice is the price tag. A 31-inch 4K Qd-OLED isn't cheap, and you'll be paying a premium over a typical IPS 4K panel. The value, therefore, really comes from the picture quality and the fact that you don't have to buy a separate TV for media consumption. If your primary use is just office work, email, spreadsheets, and occasional web browsing, you might not need the OLED depth, and a less expensive IPS display would cover those needs just fine. That's where the skip-it crowd lives, people who are happy with a 1080p or standard 4K panel and aren't planning to do color-critical work or immersive gaming. Another practical consideration is the lack of built-in speakers. AOC didn't include a sound system in this model, so you'll need external speakers or headphones for any audio you want to hear. For a typical office desk, that isn't a deal-breaker, but if you were hoping for an all-in-one TV replacement, you'll have to factor in an extra purchase. The monitor also leans on a single HDMI 2.0 port and a DisplayPort, which means you can't simultaneously run two 4K streams at 60 Hz without a splitter. If you need a dual monitor setup where each screen runs at its native 4K refresh, you'll have to think about a graphics card that can handle the bandwidth. One subtle point that shows up after a week or two of daily use is the screen's susceptibility to burn-in, a known characteristic of OLED panels. AOC claims they've added pixel shift algorithms to mitigate it, and in practice the shift is barely noticeable, it just moves a few pixels every hour to spread the wear. Still, if you're the type who leaves static UI elements, like a stock ticker or a chat window, on the screen for many hours, you'll want to enable the built-in screensaver or set a power-down timer. For most users who step away or change tasks regularly, it's not a major concern. From a connectivity standpoint, the monitor includes a USB-C port that can deliver power and video over a single cable, which is a nice convenience if you have a laptop that supports DisplayPort Alt mode. In my test, a single USB-C connection powered the laptop, transmitted 4K video, and allowed the monitor